Hi everyone, welcome back to another video brought to you by EurekaCrystalBeads.com. Before I get started, make sure to take a look at our channel and hit subscribe and then that little notification bell, and you will get a little ding every time we put up a new video, and we do put them up quite frequently, so you'll be the first to know. So what we're going to do today is another basic stitch tutorial. So we're going to be doing flat netting. And what I'm going to utilize to do this project are some size 11 seed beads and some 4mm Swarovski crystals. And this particular group of Swarovski crystals are one of our crystal mixes that we feature on our website. This is actually a brand new one that we don't even have up yet, but keep your eyes peeled. It will be available very soon. But we do have a great array of other mixes as well that make for a really great project. So what I'm going to start off by doing is laying out the beads of my first loading sequence. And like many other stitches, what you start with isn't necessarily what you'll keep doing throughout the rest of the stitch. So I'm just going to lay out a grouping of 4 crystals. I kind of picked them randomly, though you might, if you're using a mix, you might want to play with the colors a little bit. And I'm going to lay down 2 seed beads in between each of them. So that's what I'm going to load on here. And I have a size 12 beading needle, and I have 6-pound fire line that I have both doubled completely and waxed. So I have 2 lines of fire line that are going to run through all of my beadwork. And that'll be particularly important here because crystals tend to have holes that are slightly sharper. So this way, at the certain points in the stitch where the fire line might be rubbing up against the hole of that crystal, we'll have a little bit more strength there because we have the doubled fire line. All right, now as far as how far down to pull it, make sure you leave a tail that's long enough that you could thread needles onto both of those 2 strands, because remember that's actually 2 strands of fire line, and weave them in individually later. You can actually, if you want to leave it a little longer, you could also utilize that thread as well, perhaps for adding your clasp. So now that I have my first line of beads there, my loading sequence from this point forward will always be the same, and that is going to be 2 seed beads, a crystal, we'll pick one I haven't used yet, and 2 seed beads. Just like that. So I'm going to take my needle, and with netting you're always going to be working back and forth like this, back and forth across your beadwork. I'm going to go back through the second to the last crystal that I just added, just like this. And this way, the crystal that I just picked up is going to sit sort of on top of the crystal that I skipped over. That was the last crystal that I had added in that beginning step. And now I'm going to add that same loading sequence on again. So 2. One crystal, and 2. And I'm going to go back through this very first crystal. Okay, now, because my tail and my working thread are right next to each other, I'm going to take this time and I'm going to tie my 2 threads here, which is actually 4 threads, in a square knot, just to help to secure them. The square knot is kind of like a double knot, but you do that second knot backwards, so right over left, then left over right. All right, so now, and I like to always flip my beadwork, so my needle's always kind of working away from me. That's just what I find most comfortable. So now I'm going to pick up that same sequence again. Two seed beads, 1 crystal, 2 seed beads. And I'm going to go back through this crystal right here. Now, what we're basically making are what I call single beads and double beads. So this is an example of a double bead. It has 2, it's been passed through twice. This is a single bead, it's been passed through only once. So it's always the single beads that we're going to go through. So by going through this single bead, we're going to actually make it into a double bead, and then we won't be going through it ever again. But it's just usually a good indicator if you're not sure for what bead you should go through. It's always the next single bead. So I'm going to pick up 2, and crystal, and then 2. And my next single bead, so that's not going to be this one, because remember, that's a double bead. It's already been passed through twice. So it's just going to be my next single bead, which is that one right there. All right, so I'm going to do a few more rows, and then I will check back with you in just a moment. Okay, so now you can see what it looks like now that I've built up some rows of my netting. And you can see it can actually have a little bit of flex to it. And the particular area that you want to always be careful of are, these crystals right along the outer edges, because that's where your fire line is going to be going up against the whole of that crystal. So that's the reason that why we want to use that doubled fire line. So now that I have just a little bit more built up, I'm just going to show you another row. So again, to talk about those single crystals and double crystals, if you're still having some trouble with where to go, if you look, you can see that your single crystals sit slightly higher than your double crystals. Your double crystals sit a little bit lower. So that's another good visual cue for you that that's the crystal that you're supposed to go back through, is the one that's slightly higher. As you can see, what's really neat about using a crystal mix is that you just pick a mix that you really like and then a coordinating seed bead, and you have a great project. Kind of all the color work's really done for you. No matter what you really do with it, it's going to look really, really great. And you can also play around with the width of the bracelet. So in this case, this is working up like this. Like that. That's how our bracelet's going to go, and it's going to keep working this way. You could have easily made this wider or thinner. It's really up to you. So that is another bead stitch tutorial from EurekaCrystalBeads.com. Again, this was flat netting with Swarovski crystals. Go on over to our website and check out those crystal mixes that we have. They're a really great way to make a project look really, really outstanding with very little effort put into color coordinating. So they're a lot of fun, and they make a really gorgeous, gorgeous sparkly bracelet. So again, hit subscribe so that way you can make sure to see all of our great videos that we put up. And I'll see you next time.